Commander Hyunwoo pressed his six-fingered hand against the observation deck's cold metal surface as he stared at the blue planet floating in the darkness. For 32 years, he had watched this world from Station Kepler 442b, hidden among the asteroids where the primitive beings below could never detect them. Earth fascinated him in ways that made his insect-like thorax click with nervous energy. Unlike other species the Galactic Confederation observed, these humans moved fast, too fast. While most civilizations took thousands of years to discover fire and another 1,000 to reach their own moons, humans had gone from horse-drawn carts to spacecraft in barely 2 centuries. "Look at this," Dr. So-min called from her workstation. Her ghostly, translucent form shimmered as she pulled up the latest cultural analysis. They have over 7,000 different languages on one planet. Most species develop 3, maybe 4 at most. Engineer Taeho's rocky, stone-like body creaked as he turned from his monitors. "That is not the strangest thing about them. Yesterday I watched them fight a war in one place while sending food to hungry children in another. They hate and love at the same time." Hyunwoo nodded, his compound eyes reflecting the data streams flowing across their screens. He had studied many worlds during his career with the Confederation, but none puzzled him like Earth. The humans built beautiful art and terrible weapons with equal skill. They wrote poetry about peace while perfecting ways to destroy each other. "Their technology grows too quickly," So-min observed, worry creeping into her melodic voice. "Look at these numbers. They split the atom only 80 years ago. Now they are building fusion reactors and sending probes to other planets. The observation team had strict orders. The non-interference doctrine was the most sacred law of the Galactic Confederation. They could watch, record, and study, but never make contact, never help, never interfere. Primitive species had to develop naturally or risk destroying themselves with knowledge they were not ready to handle. But humans were different. They seemed to handle dangerous knowledge better than most advanced species. When they discovered nuclear power, they used it for energy and weapons. Yes, but they also used it for medicine and space exploration. They learned from their mistakes, faster than seemed possible. "Commander," Taeho's voice carried an unusual tremor, "I am detecting something on the deep space sensors." Hyunwoo's blood chilled. He had hoped never to see those particular readings again. The energy signatures were ancient and terrible, moving through the void between galaxies like shadows given form. "Are you certain?" he asked, though he already knew the answer from Taeho's expression. "Yes, sir. Void devourers. At least 50 harvester ships, maybe more. They are heading straight for this system." So-min's form flickered as she processed the information. "How long do we have?" 18 standard days until they reach the outer planets. Maybe 20 until they begin harvesting Earth. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken thoughts. They all knew what the Void Devourers did. The ancient machines had been consuming civilizations for millions of years, turning entire star systems into raw materials for their endless expansion. No species had ever successfully fought them off. Hyunwoo activated his communication array and sent an urgent message to Confederation headquarters. The response came back within hours, as he had expected. "Maintain observation position. Record everything. Do not interfere under any circumstances. This is now a historical documentation mission." He stared at the message for a long time. Below them, human children were playing in parks, unaware that death was coming from the stars. Human scientists were working on problems they would never live to solve. Human artists were creating beauty that would soon be erased forever. "They do not even know," So-min whispered. "Their telescopes cannot see that far. By the time they detect the Devourers, it will be too late to evacuate even a single city." Taeho pulled up tactical displays of human military capabilities. They have nuclear weapons, some energy shields, a few space stations. Against Void Devourers, these are like throwing stones at a mountain. Hyunwoo found himself thinking about a human city he had watched grow from a small settlement into a sprawling metropolis over the decades. Seoul, they called it. Millions of humans lived there, working and laughing and raising their young. In 18 days, it would be nothing but dust and melted metal. Sir, So-min said quietly, I am detecting unusual energy readings from Earth itself, deep underground. The patterns do not match any known human technology. Show me. The readings were strange indeed. Pulses of energy from far beneath Earth's surface, so deep they seemed to come from the planet's core. The signatures were old, older than human civilization, older than complex life on Earth. What could cause readings like this? Yun-woo asked. I do not know, So-min admitted. But they are getting stronger. Whatever is down there has been sleeping for a very long time. As the observation team prepared for the coming disaster, none of them could imagine that they were about to witness something unprecedented in galactic history. The humans they had studied for so long were about to surprise everyone, including themselves, in ways that would change the galaxy forever. The countdown to Earth's destruction had begun, but the planet below held secrets that even the ancient Void Devourers had never encountered. The Void Devourers came like a storm of metal and death. Their massive ships blotted out the stars as they entered the solar system, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities. The smaller harvesters immediately began tearing Jupiter apart, converting the gas giant's mass into raw materials with terrifying efficiency. Hyun-woo watched through his sensors as Earth's governments finally detected the approaching fleet. Panic spread across the planet in waves. Television broadcasts showed world leaders trying to maintain calm, while their military forces scrambled to mount a defense they all knew was hopeless. The humans are mobilizing everything they have, Taeho reported, his rocky voice filled with admiration. Every nation is working together now, no more fighting between themselves. Through intercepted communications, the observation team listened as President Min-ho addressed his species for what everyone knew would be the last time. His voice was steady despite the circumstances. My fellow humans, we face extinction today, but we will not beg for mercy from these machines. We will not hide in our holes waiting for death. Every person who can fight will fight. Every weapon we have built will be used. If we must die, we will make them remember that Earth was not given freely. The first wave of Void Devourers reached Earth's atmosphere like falling stars made of hate. Humanity's response was immediate and fierce. Fighter jets screamed upward from every continent, their missiles streaking toward targets that seemed impossible to hurt. So-min monitored the energy readings from the battle. Their weapons are barely scratching the Devourer hulls. But look at their tactics. They adapt so quickly. She was right. When the humans saw that direct attacks did little damage, they changed their approach within minutes. They began targeting the smaller support craft, the sensor arrays, anything that might slow down the massive ships. Above Seoul, Captain Ji-woo led a squadron of fighters in a desperate attack on a harvester ship. His radio crackled with determination as he spoke to his pilots. We cannot destroy it, but we can hurt it. Aim for the collection tubes. Make them work for every building they take. The fighters dove toward the city-sized machine, weaving between its defensive fire. 3 planes were vaporized instantly, but the others pressed on. Their missiles struck the harvester's collection equipment, causing sparks and smoke to pour from its lower sections. It was a tiny victory that meant nothing in the larger battle, but humans across the planet cheered when they saw the footage. If they could make the machines bleed even a little, then they were not completely helpless. The defense of New York was chaos and heroism mixed together. Admiral Young-soo commanded the city's shield generators from a bunker deep underground, while Void Devourers rained fire from above. The energy barriers held for nearly an hour before overloading. Shields are failing, his technician reported. We have maybe 10 minutes before they break through. Then we use those 10 minutes, Young-soo replied calmly. He activated the city's evacuation sirens and opened communication channels to every shelter in the area. All civilians to the deepest bunkers. Military personnel prepare for ground combat. When New York's shields finally collapsed, the city's defenders were ready. They had positioned every tank, every missile launcher, every soldier with a rifle, in carefully planned positions throughout the concrete canyons. The Void Devourers expected easy harvesting, but found themselves fighting for every city block. Major Yoonji led her unit through the burning streets, her soldiers carrying experimental weapons that military scientists had finished building just hours before. The energy rifles were untested and dangerous, but they were all humanity had left. "Target the joints," she shouted over the sound of collapsing buildings. "Where their armor plates connect. That is where they are weakest." Her squad took position behind an overturned bus and opened fire on a spider-like devourer machine. Their weapons carved glowing lines across its metal skin, and for a moment, it staggered. Then its return fire turned the bus into molten slag, and half her soldiers were gone. But more humans kept coming. They emerged from sewers, from building ruins, from places the machines thought they had already cleared. Some carried military weapons, others held hunting rifles or homemade explosives. All of them fought with the desperate fury of a species that refused to die quietly. The battle for Tokyo lasted 3 days. The city burned around defenders who would not retreat. When the Void Devourers finally claimed the ruins, they had lost more equipment than in their previous 100 conquests combined. Fascinating, So Min observed as she monitored the global battle. They know they cannot win, but they fight anyway. Other species surrender or flee when faced with certain death. Humans just fight harder. The mysterious energy readings from deep within Earth were growing stronger with each passing hour. The pulses came faster now, almost like a heartbeat speeding, up with excitement or fear. As the last human strongholds fell and the Void Devourers began their final harvest of Earth's resources, something ancient stirred in the darkness below. The planet's crust trembled with power that had slept since before the first human drew breath. In Seoul's ruins, Corporal Dong Hyun lay trapped under concrete and steel, his body broken but his spirit unbroken. As consciousness faded, he felt something calling to him from the depths, promising that this was not the end but the beginning. Across the dying world, similar moments were happening to humans both living and recently dead, as if the planet itself was preparing to reveal its greatest secret. The energy readings from deep within Earth suddenly exploded beyond anything the observation team had ever recorded. Their instruments overloaded as power surged through the planet's core like lightning through metal wire. "What is happening down there?" Hyunwoo demanded, his compound eyes fixed on displays that showed impossible numbers. Below the burning surface, in caverns that existed long before the first fish crawled from ancient seas, massive crystalline structures hummed to life. Each crystal was larger than a human city, glowing with soft blue light that had not shone for millions of years. Data streams older than complex life began flowing through quantum networks buried in Earth's crust. Information that had waited, in silence since the planet's formation, started moving at the speed of thought, reaching toward every human mind on Earth and beyond. Corporal Dong Hyun felt it first. Trapped beneath the collapsed ruins of his Seoul command post, his broken body should have died hours ago. Instead, warmth spread through his chest as knowledge that was not his own filled his mind. He understood how Void Devourer weapons worked. He knew their weaknesses, their power sources, their manufacturing processes. The information came not as words or pictures but as complete understanding, as if he had designed the alien machines himself. His wounds began healing. Broken bones straightened and fused. Torn flesh grew back together. But more than his body was changing. His mind expanded, connecting to something vast and ancient that lived in Earth's depths. Across the planet, similar awakenings were happening. In London's rubble, firefighter Soo Jin felt her consciousness touch other human minds. She could sense her fellow survivors in distant cities, their thoughts and knowledge flowing together like streams joining a river. Major Yoon-ji, dying in a Tokyo bunker with half her squad, suddenly sat up as her fatal injuries sealed themselves. Her soldiers, some already dead for hours, opened their eyes with new purpose burning in them. "Ma'am," Sergeant Taeho said, his voice carrying harmonics that had not been there before. "I can see their network, the machines. All of them are connected. And now, so are we." The truth revealed itself through the awakening databanks buried in Earth's core. Humanity had never been alone on their world. Long before their species existed, an ancient civilization called the Architects had used Earth as a testing ground for their greatest experiment. They had been searching for the perfect warrior species. Not perfect in strength or size, but perfect in adaptability. A species that could face any threat and find a way to overcome it through cooperation, determination, and refusal to surrender. Humanity had been the test subjects without knowing it. Their wars, their struggles, their rapid technological advancement had all been shaped by subtle influences from the sleeping systems below. The architects had guided human evolution not through genetic manipulation but through challenge and adversity. Now, with Earth facing extinction, the protocols that had waited millions of years finally activated. Dr. So-Min watched in amazement as human life signs across the planet began changing. Their cellular structure is shifting. Neural siu pathways are expanding. They are becoming something new. Captain Jiwoo, whose fighter had been shot down over the Pacific Ocean, walked out of the waves onto a beach in Japan. He should have drowned, but his lungs had adapted to process oxygen from water. His mind buzzed with connection to every other, awakened human. He looked up at the Void Devourer ships hanging in the sky like metal clouds and smiled. They had made a terrible mistake by coming to Earth. The awakened humans did not simply gain new abilities. They gained understanding. Every piece of alien technology they touched revealed its secrets. Every Void Devourer tactic became predictable. The quantum network connecting their minds made them a collective intelligence while somehow letting each person remain themselves. In the ruins of Moscow, engineer Young-Soo placed his hands on a crashed Devourer fighter. His enhanced mind read its structure like a book, understanding not just how it worked, but how to build something better. Around him, other survivors began gathering salvaged alien parts with new purpose. We can use their own materials against them, he announced to his team, but we will not just copy their designs, we will improve them. The transformation was not painful. If anything, the awakened humans felt more alive than ever before. Their senses were sharper, their thoughts clearer, their connection to each other stronger than any bond they had known. President Minho, broadcasting from a deep bunker beneath Seoul, felt the change flow through him as he spoke to his people. Citizens of Earth, something wonderful is happening. We are not the same species that was dying yesterday. We are becoming something the galaxy has never seen. Above the planet, the Void Devourers began to notice that something was wrong. Human resistance, which should have ended with the fall of the major cities, was growing stronger instead of weaker. Their harvesting operations were being disrupted by coordinated attacks from survivors who moved with impossible precision. Taeho pulled up tactical displays showing the changed battlefield. The humans are not just fighting back now, they are learning from every encounter. Their tactics improve with each battle. As night fell over the burning world, the awakened humans began their true war. They were no longer the primitive species the Void Devourers had come to harvest. They were something new, something dangerous, something that carried the legacy of the architects and the unbreakable spirit of humanity, combined into one unstoppable force. The real battle for Earth was about to begin. The awakened humans did not just fight back. They transformed war itself into something the Void Devourers had never experienced before. Major Yunji emerged from the ruins of Tokyo with her enhanced squad, their minds working together like fingers of the same hand. Where yesterday they had struggled to scratch alien armor with their primitive weapons, today they understood exactly how to dismantle the machines piece by piece. There, she pointed to a harvester ship hovering above the destroyed city center. The power coupling is behind that panel. Hit it with concentrated fire and the whole front section will lose energy. Her soldiers moved without needing further orders. Their enhanced reflexes let them dodge energy beams that would have killed them yesterday. Their improved coordination meant every shot counted. Within minutes, the massive ship was listing to one side, sparks pouring from its damaged hull. But they were not content to just disable it. Captain Jiwoo, his fighter pilot instincts enhanced by the protocols, studied the falling ship with new understanding. We can use those parts, he announced through the quantum network that connected all awakened minds. Their hull metal is perfect for what we need to build. Across the planet, similar scenes played out as humanity began the most rapid technological advancement in galactic history. In London's rubble, engineer Young-Soo directed teams of survivors as they converted Void Devourer wreckage into something entirely new. The alien ships had been built for harvesting and destruction. The humans rebuilt them for protection and creation. Where the machines had energy weapons that burned everything they touched, the awakened humans designed tools that could repair and construct. "Look at this," Dr. Sujin called out as she worked on a captured Devourer control system. Her enhanced mind could read the alien programming like a simple book, but more importantly, she could see how to make it better. Their computers think in straight lines. Ours can think in circles, spirals, patterns they never imagined. The quantum network connecting human minds meant that every discovery was shared instantly. When Young-Soo in London figured out how to reverse the polarity on a Devourer energy weapon, Jiwoo in Tokyo immediately knew how to apply that knowledge to ship engines. When Sujin in New York learned to hack alien navigation systems, every human pilot across Earth gained the same ability. The Void Devourers, for the first time in their millions of years of existence, found themselves confused. Species they conquered either died quickly or surrendered. They had never faced an enemy that grew stronger during battle. Commander Hyun-woo watched from his observation station as something impossible happened below. "They are not just repairing their cities," he reported to his team in amazement. "They are building new ones. Better ones." The ruins of Seoul were transforming into something that looked like a cross between a fortress and a factory. Awakened humans worked together with perfect efficiency, using salvaged alien materials to construct buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like living things. Admiral Dong-hyun stood at the center of the construction, his enhanced mind, coordinating the efforts of thousands of workers. "The old Seoul was built for humans as we were," he announced to his teams. "This new Seoul is built for humans, as we are becoming." The new city's buildings were made from living metal that could repair itself and adapt to threats. The power systems used Void Devourer energy cores, but improved them with human innovation. The defensive weapons were alien technology rebuilt, with human creativity. But the most impressive change was in space. Human survivors who had been trapped on orbital stations began building ships that made both human and Devourer technology look primitive. Captain Taeho commanded the first of these new vessels, grown rather than built from materials that responded to thought as much as to tools. His ship was smaller than the massive Devourer harvesters but moved through space like a living creature, dodging and weaving between enemy fire with impossible grace. "Target their command ship," he ordered his crew through their mental link. His weapons were not the crude energy beams the Devourers used, but focused streams of force that could tear apart molecular bonds. The Devourer command ship, which had destroyed entire fleets in other systems, found itself outmaneuvered by vessels that seemed to predict its every move. The human ships worked together like a school of fish, each one part of a larger pattern that the alien machines could not understand. When the command ship tried to retreat toward the outer system, it discovered that the humans had already placed ships there to cut off escape. The species that had been facing extinction just days ago had become hunters, systematically tracking down every Devourer in the solar system. "Impossible," So-min whispered, as she watched a group of human ships surround and capture an entire Devourer fleet. "They are not destroying the ships, they are taking them intact." The captured Void Devourers were brought to the growing fortress cities on Earth, where awakened humans studied them not with hatred, but with curiosity. They wanted to understand not just how the machines worked, but why they had been built, where they came from, and what had driven them to consume entire civilizations. The war was no longer about survival. It had become about transformation. Humanity was not just defeating the Void Devourers. They were evolving beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, combining ancient architect knowledge with uniquely human adaptability and determination. As the last Devourer ships fell silent in Earth's orbit, the awakened humans turned their enhanced senses toward the stars beyond, knowing that this was only the beginning of their new purpose. With the last Void Devourer ship captured and studied, the awakened humans accessed the complete architect databanks buried deep in Earth's core. What they discovered changed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The Void Devourers were not unique monsters. They were just the latest in an endless cycle of threats that emerged from the dark spaces between galaxies every few million years. Sometimes they were machines like the Devourers. Sometimes they were living creatures that consumed stars for food. Sometimes they were forces of pure energy that turned entire solar systems into empty void. Admiral Dong-hyun stood in the command center of New Seoul, his enhanced mind processing information that would have driven an ordinary human insane. Around him, holographic displays showed the galaxy's long history of destruction and renewal. The architects faced 17 different extinction events, he announced to the Council of Awakened Humans gathered both physically and through their quantum network. They survived them all, but they knew they could not live forever. So they created us. Dr. Sujin, her consciousness expanded far beyond what any human had possessed before, studied the ancient records. We were not just an experiment in creating warriors. We were meant to be their replacements, the new guardians of the galaxy. Earth itself was transforming into something magnificent. The burned cities had been rebuilt as living fortresses that could defend themselves and support millions of people. Gardens grew where devastation had reigned, but these were not ordinary plants. They were hybrids of earth vegetation and architect biotechnology, creating ecosystems that could survive anything the universe might throw at them. Children played in parks that cleaned the air and provided food, while overhead, the new guardian, fleets patrolled space lanes that stretched across multiple star systems. These were not the children of the old humanity. Born after the awakening, they carried both human nature and architect knowledge in their genetic code. The Galactic Confederation, which had written off Earth as a dead world, suddenly found themselves facing representatives of a species that had transcended every limitation they had possessed just weeks ago. Ambassador Eun-ji stood before the hastily assembled Confederation Council, her presence radiating an authority that made species with millions of years of civilization take notice. She looked human, but her eyes held depths that spoke of knowledge spanning eons. "We are no longer the primitive species you observed," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that somehow translated perfectly into every alien language present. "We are the awakened, inheritors of the architect's legacy and guardians of this galaxy." Commander Hyunwoo, now serving as the first official diplomatic contact between humanity and the Confederation, watched as delegates from hundreds of species listened with growing amazement and concern. "The humans offer alliance, not conquest," he translated, though the awakened humans had learned to communicate directly with any species they encountered. "But they want everyone to understand that the age of helplessness against cosmic threats is over." Captain Taeho's Guardian fleet hung in space outside the council station, ships that seemed to be grown rather than built. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time, clearly capable of incredible destruction but designed with an elegance that spoke of deeper purposes. The awakened humans did not demand submission from other species. Instead, they offered something the galaxy had never known: genuine protection. Guardian stations began appearing throughout inhabited space, each one staffed by humans who retained their essential humanity while wielding power that could reshape reality itself. Engineer Young-soo oversaw the construction of the first Guardian station in the Andromeda approach, where sensors could detect threats coming from outside the galaxy. The station was not just a military base, but a home where human families lived and worked, their children learning to use abilities that their grandparents could never have imagined. "The old humanity fought wars against each other," he explained, to a group of visiting alien scientists. "The awakened humanity fights wars against extinction itself. We will never again allow a civilization to face annihilation alone." The transformation was not without challenges. Some species feared the humans' new power and tried to form alliances against them. Others wanted to steal the architect technology for themselves, but the awakened humans handled each situation with wisdom that seemed to come from sources deeper than mere experience. President Minho, his consciousness now connected to every Guardian station across the galaxy, addressed both human and alien populations in his final official speech. We have become something new, but we have not forgotten what we were. We are still the species that refused to surrender when our world burned. Now we use that same spirit to ensure no other world will ever burn while we have the power to prevent it. The story concluded with scenes of children from dozens of species playing together in Guardian Station parks, while their parents worked side by side on projects that would protect the galaxy for generations to come. Human teachers shared ancient architect knowledge while alien instructors taught about cultures that spanned the stars. In Earth's rebuilt cities, monuments honored both the humans who had died fighting the void devourers and the awakened who had risen to become something greater. But the most important monument was Earth itself, transformed from a dying world into a beacon of hope that could be seen from any point in the galaxy. The species that had once been primitive observers' subjects had become the galaxy's ultimate protectors, ensuring that the light of civilization would never be extinguished by the darkness between the stars.